The initial 53-man roster is set. The practice squad has been announced. What does it all mean? Let's discuss.
You are Locked On Cardinals, your daily Arizona Cardinals podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Alex Clancy here. Follow me on Twitter at Clancy's Corner. Follow the podcast at Locked On AZ Cards. 15 years in sports media, 9th season hosting this lovely show. Thanks for being an everydayer. If this is your first listen to Locked On Cardinals, maybe make tomorrow your second listen. Join the everydayer crew. The water's warm. The water's warm. Please go to the YouTube channel, search Locked On Arizona Cardinals. Hit that subscribe button, man. You know the drill. We're 10 days away from football. A little bit longer for the Cardinals, but the NFL season is a collective. It's all beginning. It's all beginning together a week from tomorrow, which is bananas. We got there. Today's episode of Locked On Cardinals is brought to you by FanDuel. Football season's right around the corner. Visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your futures bets now. So, had a fun fantasy football conversation yesterday with Jason Moore. I thought it was nice to just do a little vacation from quote unquote real football between the lines. And Jason's one of the best in the business. The fantasy footballers are, incredible. So I'm lucky to call him a friend in this business. If you've been listening for any sort of amount of time, when people are encyclopedias about something they know, those are my favorite episodes. Just to marvel at how good somebody is at something. It's crazy. And luckily, he's a Cardinals fan, which adds some fun nuance to it, and then gives you all the fantasy football information you could ever need. That was great. Now back to real football. The initial 53 roster set, discuss it. The practice squad has just been announced. That's why I'm a little tardy today. I wanted to wait to see all the information before recording today. There was an RB surprise. I didn't see it coming. It's fun to discuss because even though it seems like it's going to be James Conner and Trey Benson, then a huge drop off than everybody else. Having the texture in the running back room is it's fun, and it's going to look a little different than I initially thought. And Jonathan Gannon spoke to the media this morning. He said, I'm paraphrasing, it's going to be very fluid the next couple of weeks roster wise. So who knows if the Cardinals are done. But as of now, everything is pretty much as expected. I'll pull up the 53-man roster, and I will pull up the practice squad that was just announced, and we'll break it down together. But the overarching theme here is, especially on offense, the Cardinals ran it back, so there's not going to be a bunch of different names. It's not going to be something where it's like, oh, I can't believe this happened, or oh, I can't believe this happened, with any sort of real consequence, unless there is, for some reason, some major depth players needing to be played on game days, which isn't going to be ideal. So for the 53-man roster, it's something that, again, not huge waves being made. For those that are watching on YouTube, I'm bringing up the 20 players who were cut or released. Some of these players have been re-signed to the practice squad, which I'll discuss in a minute. But, if you look at it, DJ Dallas was kind of a surprise for me. Simi Fehoko was a surprise for me. I thought that he was going to make the roster with Xavier Weaver, but I guess the plan was to have Xavier Weaver make the 53 and then bring Simi back to the practice squad, which he has been. Again, a bunch of kind of tangential guys. Elijah Simmons, who made some waves in camp as an undrafted free agent. Mykal Walker made some splash plays during the preseason, but there aren't really many names here that surprised. Michael Carter is who I'll talk about in the next segment, but he was brought back on the practice squad today as well. So this is kind of much ado about nothing. Aside from DJ Dallas, it's just one of those things where the Cardinals got their dudes. They drafted well. The rookies played like Elijah Jones, who I thought was going to get cut, made the roster, which is great. Second-year player out of Boston College who was hurt all year last year. We'll see if he can make any sort of, hold any sort of weight in the DB room this year. I'm pulling up the practice squad list right now. This was released by the team via email to the media earlier today. They re-signed 13 players in the practice squad. Andre Bocelli, Elliott Jones, Jeremiah Byers, Michael Carter, Jake Curran. Like, these are names that you expected. Simi Fajoko's back. Darren Hall, Sincere Hainsworth, Nick Leverett, and Elijah Simmons is back. So, and Tawan Palmer, who was a late round, I think he was a 6th rounder last year. So, here's the thing. When you don't have any like cap casualties in the NFL sense, you know who your dudes are going to be. They knew midway through the preseason. Okay, these are the guys, which is something that is still kind of foreign to me, being around this team tangentially for 15 years. It's crazy. Where it's like, oh, cool. They know what's going on. They got a plan. So the debates are about who the 3rd string running back and 5th wide receiver are going to be. And there's power in that. So at least there's a plan. Like, lest we forget, having a plan with any sort of cohesion isn't really a mainstay and hasn't been of this organization. It's just factual. Not opinion. Not factual. Isaiah Simmons just got cut again. Just reminds me of years past. The moratorium is still in place. Don't worry. Can't say those 2 words together. But boring is good. And the only player who the Cardinals cut or released that got claimed on waivers was Jalen Jones, who went back to the Bears, where he played there for 2022 to 2024. Keaton Crawford made the roster. Like, a lot of these fringe guys, if they're going to excel at special teams, will be with the Cardinals for a while. Kentrell Clark, Xavier Thomas made the roster with flying colors. The Cardinals roster is deep. And for those that so I tweeted out that them cutting Simi Falco was showing how deep this roster is. Maybe I should have clarified a little bit more. What I meant was his spot was needed for a different position, not that the wide receiver room was deep enough to cut him. I guess I needed to clarify that. So regardless of what you think about Kyler Murray, the state of the offense, what the defense is going to look like, Jonathan Gannon, Drew Petzing, Nick Rowlitz, etc., regardless of your thoughts on that going into the preseason, one thing is abundantly clear. They got a plan. They've got their dudes. It's still very fluid, especially on defense. Like, that is going to be a production-based business on who sees the snaps, especially in the DB room, especially in the pass rush room. It's going to be production-based. So it's not, and let me explain what I mean. Like, obviously, in the NFL, if you don't produce, you're not going to play. Like, I get that. What I mean is the question marks, and I've alluded to this a lot, the question marks that the Cardinals have on defense is who's going to beat out who for spots when 2 guys are good enough to play that spot. And that's a beautiful situation to be in. That's a beautiful situation to be in. And then on offense, they've got their plan. They were going to run it back. That's what it is. So whether you like it or not, and I'm like not being combative at all, like whether one likes what's going on there or not, the plan is set. The plan is there. And one little final thing. Will Hernandez has been activated from the pup, so he will be active week 1, more than likely. Like, he's not going to have to miss time. Walter Nolan is going to miss at least the first 4 weeks. And Bijan Ojulari will as well. So, the Bijan Ojulari thing is interesting. It's interesting. You know what? I'm going to talk a couple minutes about Walter Nolan next, and then I'll pivot into to running back room. I don't think the Walter Nolan injury, although it sucks, and you want the 16th overall pick to play week 1 and complement the big guys up front with his quick twitch nature. It's fine. It's fine. Okay? We'll discuss that next, then we'll pivot into the Michael Carter, Amari DiMercado, and Zonovan Knight situation. Locked on Cardinals, your team every day. This episode of Locked On Cardinals is brought to you by our friends at Yahoo Fantasy. The NFL season is here. It's right around the corner, and you can feel the buzz in fantasy football season. Woo! It's here. It's been here, baby. Everyone's researching, drafting, building their championship squads. If you haven't joined a league yet, what are you doing? Now is the time, and it's all happening at Yahoo Fantasy. This year, I'm playing fantasy football in Yahoo Fantasy, and you should too, whether you're a first-timer or a veteran, creating your millionth league. I'm in 3 leagues, all of which are on the fantasy app, or Yahoo Fantasy app. I've got my most important draft tonight. My most important one. It's a redraft league. I've been in it for 20 years. 7 o'clock tonight, baby. I got the number 1 overall pick. I still don't know who I'm taking. But what I do know is it's going to be on Yahoo. With season kickoff on September 4th, now is the time to start playing Yahoo Fantasy Football, which offers so many fun ways to compete. You want to play instantly with friends? Try the new Draft with Friends mode. Prefer the classics? Get your crew together and go head-to-head in a private league. No crew, no problem. Join a public league, the easiest way to play. The NFL season kicks off September 4th, so don't wait. Start your league now. Draft now at yahoofantasy.com/lockedonNFL. That's yahoofantasy.com/lockedonNFL. Please go to the YouTube channel. Search Locked On Arizona Cardinals. Hit that subscribe button, man. Hit it. It's only going up from here. So we have an important request. Locked On wants to hear from you, and we've put together a survey to learn more about our listeners and make your favorite podcast even better. And this is your chance to tell us what you like, what you don't, and answer questions about our advertising. Go to lockedonpodcast.com/survey to get started. Everyone who completes a survey will be entered for a chance to win one of 10 $100 Amazon gift cards. Again, that's lockedonpodcast.com/survey. You can also find the link in the show notes. Thanks for helping out, man. So the Walter Nolan thing is not ideal and not uncircumventable. This shows the maturity of this roster, talent-wise. Dalvin Tomlinson, Calais Campbell, Dante Stills, LJ Collier, Bilal Nichols, they've got dudes who can play up front, okay? This is going to be a much improved position group as compared to last year, with the help of a wildly facelifted pass rush room. So, yes, you want to see him playing. It sucks that he's not. This is the second year in a row that there's an injury to a first round pick for the Cardinals with Darius Robinson last year. Didn't mention Darius Robinson in this group. Obviously, he's part of it too. They can afford to take their time. I know it's switching sports, and I know that it's not exactly the same, but they're both regarding the human body, so it's got to correlate somehow. Ask Tyrese Halliburton and Jason Tatum and Kevin Durant what it's like to rush back from a calf injury when you pop your Achilles soon after. You can't mess with the calf. All the explosion comes, that's part of that's part of what makes Walter Nolan great, is his ability to use all of his leg. He'll sit, he'll watch, he'll learn, and hopefully he'll be back, well before the Cardinals bye week. You just hope he's back before week 8. Bijou Ojulari, that's weird. I mean, it's been over a year now since his camp injury last year. So I don't know what is going on. Jonathan Gannon, that's one thing that kind of obsessed me about Jonathan Gannon. He goes, oh, he's exactly where he's supposed to be. He's progressing. He's in good spirits. It's like we're starting to see the coach speak, especially with injuries. He doesn't really ever give concrete information. And it's not to say that in the preseason they have to, but when actual, injury reports come out, I think we're going to see more come to light. But the fact that he's missing 4 more games at least, it's kind of disconcerting. One thing that's not disconcerting is Zonovan Knight making the 53-man roster. Jonathan Gannon spoke today. He said nobody makes the roster with a late push. He's been impressing the coaching staff since coming over. And for those that don't remember, Bam Knight was a fantasy football darling 2 full years ago, I believe, with the Jets. I think it was 2 years ago before they drafted Breece Hall, and 3 years ago. And yeah, so Michael Carter practice squad, Amari DiMercato, Zonovan Knight, active roster, DJ Dallas cut. I did not have this. I was 100% wrong. I thought DJ Dallas' prowess on special teams would keep him here. That's not to say they won't re-sign him at some point. I haven't seen anywhere that he has signed elsewhere. But again, these are like fringe things that we're discussing. We haven't talked about who the RB2 is in 3 weeks because we don't have to, because we know who it is. Fantastic. And I understand that Amari DiMercato is a better blocking running back than Michael Carter. Like, I'm fully aware that a 5'8", 200-pound running back isn't going to be as good of a blocker as Amari DiMercato. I completely understand it. And his skill set is different than Amari DiMercato's. That's all I'm saying. And Zonovan Knight has got the scoot. We saw it on the long touchdown run in the last preseason game. So how much they'll play, don't know. You hope that you see Amari DiMercato on special teams and on third down, obvious passing situations to block. That's what you hope you see him the full extent for the majority of it, which means James Conner and Trey Benson are absolutely eating. So it's starting to form into shape what I was hoping for. The Cardinals have 2 running backs. It's going to be an RB1 and an RB2. Not an RB1 and play the hot hand. Not an RB1 and let's, be democratic with these touches. You want Trey Benson to emerge as the future RB1 for this team. You want him to nip at the heels of James Conner like we want to see Marvin Harrison Jr. nip at the heels of Trey McBride. That's what you want to see. Now, the gap is pretty wide for both of them. It's different, but the gap is pretty wide between James Conner and Trey Benson and Marvin Harrison Jr. and Trey McBride. I think that's pretty obvious. That's not to say, given more opportunity, that it can't be wildly thinned this season. So we'll see. I mean, it's going to be trial by fire. Trey Benson, I don't see a world where Trey Benson doesn't get 35% of the touches, 33% of the touches. I can't see a world where it's going to be 75-25 this year if you want to keep James Conner for 17 games. I can't see it. But it was surprising that, that DJ Dallas wasn't brought back to me. I've been wrong before once, I think, maybe twice. But again, when you look at the 53, you look at the practice squad, the floor continues to rise talent-wise. And we'll see, I'm fascinated to see with Simi Fehoko what the impetus was to not roster him. I know Xavier Weaver's got, he's the fastest receiver outside of Greg Dortch. So I understand the differentiator between the rest of the wide receiver group, 6'3" and above, and Xavier Weaver. I get it. They love him also. They love him. They love Keitrell Clark. They love their dudes. They like their guys. Simi Fehoko hasn't been one of their guys. He's played at, multiple other spots. But I have a feeling 2025, a lot of it is going to come down to Michael Wilson. And given the fact that the offense is going to be able to spread out the targets a little bit more than they have been last year specifically, can Michael Wilson really emerge? Because you're looking at Simi Fehoko is kind of the same exact guy. A little bit older, but same exact kind of avatar. So it's going to be fascinating. The wide receiver 2 room is going to be fascinating, with Michael Wilson, Greg Dortch, Zay Jones. If there's going to be somebody that can really emerge to play alongside Marv and have a 3-headed monster, including Trey McBride in the pass game. But all in all, up until this point, no real surprises that are going to have immediate impact on games, which is good. That means everything is set to plan. Everything is going according to that plan. And that's all you can really ask for heading into week 1, regardless of who the opponent is. Locked On Cardinals, your team every day. It's going to be very fluid for the next couple weeks. And again, these are good problems to have. These are problems. These are good situations to be a part of. It means everything is leveling up. I'll expound a little bit more as we wrap up this conversation on the 53-man roster being set for now and what else could potentially happen. We'll discuss all of that next. This episode of Locked On Cardinals is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. The NFL season is almost here, and FanDuel's just making sure that you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. It makes every game more exciting, whether you're watching your team or just keeping an eye on your fantasy lineup. Like single-game parlays, take a little of your bonus bet cheese if your first $5 bet wins. Maybe do a single game parlay on the New Orleans Saints game. Who's going to score the first touchdown? Who's going to score an anytime touchdown? Whatever it is, FanDuel's got you covered. So are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. Cardinal Squad Show. If you haven't watched it, you should. Myself, Jamil Douglas, Ben Garcia. Our show twice a week. We've we've decided that the best schedule for the season is going to be every Wednesday. And then immediately following my postcast, immediately following each game. So I'll be going live for between 10 and 20 minutes after each Cardinals game. And then immediately following that, we'll be doing a full hour-long live show. Join us, get your questions answered. It's a lot more interactive. I like to be more, information-based, opinion-based, and then, we'll definitely get you in on the act there for the full hour show. It's going to be really fun. We're really starting to gel. And, yeah, man, it's going to be a good time. So every post game, you're going to get between an hour and 15 and an hour and 20 minutes of me and the Cardinal Squad Show. And then every Wednesday, on top of my 5 shows a day for you. So a lot of my big dumb face for you this year. Buckle up, partner. Also, there will be another way that you're going to be able to interact with me throughout the year. I'm ironing out the details for that, and I will have that for you next week, a way that we can interact not just with shows and comments and Twitter DMs and stuff like that. So a lot of good stuff on the horizon. So keep it locked and loaded, man. Okay, so Jonathan Gannon said things will be very fluid for the next couple weeks, and it makes sense. I'm sure, like when Monty Ossenfort says he's always open to having a conversation, I don't doubt that. And it's not a link to, it's kind of circumstantial that happens to just be factual. Jacoby Myers has requested a trade with the Raiders. I believe that Monty was either wanted or was in New England when they drafted him. So there's a little tie there. Are the Cardinals going to pay him $30 million a year? Absolutely not. But it's fascinating. Is there a world where the Cardinals trade for a wide receiver? And Bleacher Report came out. I was going to do a full segment on this, but it's way too close to the season for something like this. Bleacher Report came out, and we talked about this on the Cardinal Squad Show. Bleacher Report came out with an article that said one trade every team should propose before the season starts. And for the Cardinals, it was offering a second-round pick to Miami for Tyreek Hill. And I'd do it. This is very rarely, because there's been such a hard reset. Very rarely are there times when you're already paying a quarterback full freight where you can take chances like this and have it not crater your future. A second round pick for Tyreek, it's of course, when healthy and when Tua is healthy, he's a top 10 receiver still. Plus, this is why, and I know, the off the field stuff, the concerns with that, 100% valid. Okay, I'm not casting a blind eye to that by any stretch. He's been accused of doing some not so great things. Okay, and I don't take that lightly whatsoever. And this is a football show, so this is what I'm staying in my lane with. He is a champagne version of Greg Dortch, times 100. So if you think about how Kyler Murray checks down a lot, what if those checkdowns turned into, wide receiver slip screens with Tyreek Hill behind Trey McBride, Michael Wilson, and Marvin Harrison Jr.? What if crossing routes run by Greg Dortch or a wide receiver turn into crossing routes run by Tyreek Hill where he could house it at any moment. Like, you want to take a chance that would only offer you a second-round pick? It might even be less than that. And you have to pay him his weight, but it's like, I think that at this point, this culture and like structure is so strong, it's impenetrable. So the off the field stuff would not affect this Cardinals organization at all. So when it's fluid, it just makes me think, like, are they done yet? And I know it would be a Hail Mary. No, I'm not saying they will. I'm saying if I were Monty Ossenfort and Miami called me and they're like, hey, we'll give you Tyreek Hill for a second round pick, where do I sign, bud? The Jacoby Myers thing is fascinating too, but chances are neither of those things are going to happen. And I don't, whatever the case may be, when you say this roster is as is going into week 1, it's a win. It's a win plus. It's fantastic. Just take a second to realize how far the Cardinals have come roster-wise since the end of the 2022 season. This is one of those things, I move the goalpost with this sometimes, and I'll be the first to admit it, where it's like, you can compare the Cardinals to other organizations sometimes, and it's not beneficial to do it at other times. This is where it's not beneficial because it's like, well, look at what the Rams have done. Look at what the 49ers, it doesn't matter. With this, you're looking at where the Cardinals were at the end of the 2022 season. They retained less than 50% of their roster after that when Monty Ossenfort took over, and look at what's happened since. It still needs to be proven, obviously, because a lot of these guys haven't played together. I know that. But this is by far the deepest roster the Cardinals have had in a decade plus. This is by far the deepest roster Kyler Murray has had. And this is by far the most amount of talent Nick Rallis has had to work with on defense. So whether it's fluid or not, if this is the roster going into week 1, this is the best case scenario for the Cardinals. Especially when being compared to where this, roster and organization was when Monty Ossenfort and Jonathan Gannon took over a couple years ago. Alex Clancy, Locked On Cardinals. Remember, without you, there is no me. I'll talk to you tomorrow.